Most welcome, Dr. Charu. Over to you. I'll not take much of the time because topic is important today. So let's start.
Thank you, Surbhi, for your very kind introduction. And as far as children are concerned, I think we have to be friendly with them. That is the main thing. We have to be friends with them, whether we are their doctors or we are their parents or we are their teachers. It is immaterial, but we have to be at the same level as them. Only then we can build a rapport and confidence with them. So today's topic, if we can get down to it, sickness season is currently at its peak. Everywhere right now, what I'm facing now is that not only the clinic is full, even the hospitals are full, and I'm not able to even get a bed if I want to send children for admission for those who are slightly more sick. So today we are going to discuss a very relevant topic of how to take care of children, not only in this season but in all seasons, and how to take care of their health so that they not only have good health, but immunity is an overall kind of game. So if we boost their health, we boost their immunity also. So getting right down into the topic, we know that we are what we eat. That is in a nutshell, that whatever we eat, it not only contributes to our health, it also contributes to our immunity. So a nutritious and balanced diet is the building block of good health and a strong and robust immune system. One thing we could clarify right at the outset as to what is the importance of immunity in children. Immunity, we know, is the protective resistance in our body, so to say, against any kind of infection. That is known as immunity. So that our body is able to fight against any kind of infection on its own. So how do we make it strong enough so that it can resist? Infection is all over the place, and especially since COVID, everybody has become very much aware of what this term, which is immunity, because in COVID we have seen what was the effect of a poor immunity, or how that was the burning question actually, how to increase the immunity and how to prevent infections. So of course the most important thing is, one is how to prevent the not only the infections but also even on a day-to-day basis. We would be surprised to know that everything carries infection, even the water, the air that we breathe, that the same, from the same air we were getting the infections during the COVID pandemic. So since then this topic has become extremely important. So one thing also we should be clear, that children as such, their immunity is less than that of adults, and to take that by the time the child is about say 10 to 12 years, only at that stage their immunity starts developing more, and their immunity starts getting to the level of that of an adult. So that also we should understand, that as such children are more prone and more vulnerable to infections because their immune system has not yet developed fully. So with the growth of the child and the development of the child, not only the physical development takes place, but the immune system also develops. So it is important right from the start that we should keep a proper nutritious and well balanced diet for the child. So what do we mean by a healthy balanced diet? So the healthy balanced diet means that we should have a wide variety of food in the child's plate. That is a healthy balanced diet. And what are the essential nutrients that we need for our overall development and as well as for the development of our immune system? There are various vitamins and various nutrients. All of us are aware of the importance of these, like say vitamin A or B6, vitamin C, D and E. We'll just go over briefly. Now vitamin A and vitamin C are especially important as far as the uh, resistance to various seasonal respiratory infections, or say, as we call them in common words, say flu or cold symptoms. So this is the flu season basically. So flu means anything which is dealing with the respiratory system. So vitamin C is extremely important. It prevents not only the common cold but also the dangerous kinds of viruses, like we have seen in the previous the acute respiratory syndrome viruses like SARS and COVID. So vitamin C is actually critical. And why diet is so important, we will just go on to that also. And so we should give, and vitamin D also prevents respiratory infections. That means the infections which are concerned with the airway. That means cold, cough, sore throat, pneumonias. So these are the infections which are really important as far as vitamin C and A are concerned. Vitamin D also prevents respiratory infections, and vitamin A is actually very important for our gut health also. So gut means like say loose motions and vomiting. So it basically takes care of our lining of the gut, that is vitamin A. And there are others like say vitamin E, which is also very important, and vitamin B complex or B6 as we call it. So A to E, all of them are important. And also there are certain antioxidants or minerals like say zinc or iron. We are hearing a lot these days about iron and zinc. And iron especially, I would like to add here, is very important for the cognitive development of the child also. So any child who is having an iron deficient diet, not only his immunity goes down, his memory also goes down, his cognition also goes down. So iron is also very important. Zinc is also very important for immunity, as well as there are other minerals like say selenium, copper and folic acid. All of these are critical for building the child's immunity. So now how do we ensure that the child is getting all these? If we can go back to the previous slide, should we?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So what are the immunity boosting foods? We have to ensure that the child is now it's very difficult to for anybody to remember which, like say vitamin A rich foods are mangoes, papaya, spinach. Okay, vitamin C, we know it's the most important source of vitamin C is amla or gooseberry, the richest source of vitamin C. So, but then how do we get a child to eat amla? I mean, it's so impractical. So what do we do? Or say vitamin C rich, we say that oranges, citrus fruits are rich in vitamin C. Then so how to go by a simple rule of thumb? Like, so the most important part is that the food, try to include a wide variety of foods in the child's diet. And the more colored, bright colors, all the colored fruits like say apples, oranges, grapes, and bananas, papayas, mangoes. So let's include a variety of these colored foods. By colored, I don't mean obviously artificially colored. What I mean is that all the colors should be incorporated on the child's plate. That means all the various colors of fruits as well as the various vegetables, like say carrots. So most carrots or cucumbers, all carrots also we know they are very rich in vitamin A. Vitamin A is not only important for the fighting infections, it's also very important for our visual acuity. So if the child's vision is going down, sometimes we find that the vitamin A is deficient in the child. So not only it is important for immunity, all these brightly colored foods and fruits and vegetables, they are important for our general health as well as the cognitive development as well as the memory of the child. So, and also are locally available whatever is the seasonal fruits. So we should not go after the exotic fruits. Okay, I have to give kiwi to my child, not required. So we don't have to give the most expensive foods. We can just go for what is locally produced and available. Like, so currently what is in season is plums, or papayas or apples or pears. So whatever is in season, we should go for that because that will be fresh, and whatever the seasonal vegetables and fruits. Then one more thing I would like to add here, these are about the fruits and vegetables. Now these will provide all the minerals. Now there are certain things in the body, like any even as such our cells have to renew themselves every day. You know, our cellular growth, whatever are our cells in the body, whether they are brain cells or they are cells in the airway or they are cells in the gut, they have to keep renewing. They keep getting old, so they have to be renewed. So basically we need antioxidants for this cell renewal process in our body. So what are these antioxidant rich foods? Again, these are the fruits, citrus fruits, as well as the nuts and the seeds. So dry fruits. So dry fruits like say almonds, walnuts, raisins, all these are very important source and powerhouse actually of antioxidants as well as the immunity boosting uh, factors which our body requires. So all these foods can be incorporated as a healthy snack in children. So I mean, of course, we have to see that it should be attractive to the child. Now how do you get a child to eat amla or say a child to eat raisins? Some of them may like, some of them may not like. So we have to make it attractive to the child. So how do we go about it? So one simple solution, we can combine it with say we can make a chikki. Now this is just a practical tip for parents because this is the exam season. So children will keep on feeling hungry when they are studying. So what do you give to the child? So instead of giving say chips or say cookies, we can give them a healthy chikki made of jaggery. Jaggery is another very important source of iron and antioxidants. So we can combine jaggery with any dry fruits which the child likes. We can even powder the dry fruits. If the child doesn't like those whole dry fruits, we can make a powder of it, combine with jaggery and make a very healthy and delicious snack. Because the main thing for children is it should, whatever we are giving, it should be very delicious and it should have a very attractive presentation. Otherwise no child is going to eat that. So how do we, that is how to make things more attractive for the children. So rather than adding sugar, we can combine it with jaggery. So and then I'm sure mothers are the best, they are full of so many recipes. So many things I have learned from my ladies or the mothers who come to me, that this is what my child likes. So I say it's all right, you give them whatever they like, and plus it is also important to give that occasional treat. So we have another thing I would like to say is that certain foods are more important which we are regularly using in our Indian cooking. These are the spices, like say garlic or ginger or say turmeric and or haldi. These we are regularly using in our cooking, and these are actually also very important boosters for immunity. So even like it's such a common thing, we have been using it for centuries, like turmeric, milk with turmeric, haldi wala doodh. Okay, we have been giving it for ages, and now science is discovering that it is actually one of the best immunity boosting drinks. So these are the, and plus of course what we have been using, curd. Curd is also very important. It contains certain good bacteria for our stomach. So these are the probiotics which are contained in curd. That is why I think our ancients and our the people, they were very wise. Our elderly people and the ancient cultures which we had, they were very wise. So whenever anybody had an upset stomach, the child used to be given the lightest diet, which is say curd and rice. So that used to be easily digested, and the curd would replace all the bad bacteria, and all the good bacteria would go to the stomach and get rid of the child's diarrhea or vomiting or whatever stomach infection he had. And also our food is our indigenous food, Indian food is very rich in fiber also. So fiber is contained, fiber means roughage. so which is very important to wash out all the infections from the stomach. So it will catch hold of all the bacteria. All the fiber is basically passed out of the body undigested. It is not required for digestion, but it will kind of catch hold of all the bacteria like a mop, and it will carry them out. So that is one part about the diet. So another thing, now we can go to the next slide. Now, what are the other ways? Not only the diet is important, we have to be, we have to keep in mind that there are so many factors which act in association with the diet for our immune system. Now, what is one very important thing which we have to be really vigilant about is physical activity and outdoor activity in children. And of course, it's raining outside, but whenever the weather is clear, we should make sure that the child goes outdoor and indulges in outdoor activity, physical activity, any kind of activity which the child enjoys, whether it is just playing football or any outdoor sports, or even we can go for a walk with the child or for a jog with the child. That physical activity is important. Not only it reduces the stress level in the child, which is also of course very important, but it increases the circulation. Whenever we have any physical activity, the circulation increases, and the immunity fighting cells, they will also get activated in the circulation. So also it boosts vitamin D. These days we are seeing lots and lots of not only children but also adults who are deficient in vitamin D, because most of the time the modern lifestyle is such that we are confined indoors, whether due to our work or due to any other reasons. We are unable to go out into the sun. And even children, they are also most of the time either busy in their studies or in their classes or in other activities. So that sunlight exposure is very important to increase our vitamin D levels. And also vitamin D is important for our bones, not only for immunity, to get strong bones and a good health also. The vitamin D is extremely important. And of course, another the more added effect of outdoor activities, that it reduces our stress. Not only that does it boost our immunity. We can go to the next slide. Also, exercise, and the other thing is sleep. Sleep or rest is also very important for our body to heal. What does our body do during sleeping hours? Our entire body and all the systems, not only they take rest, but they heal or renew themselves during sleep. So whatever is lacking or whatever is worn out, like a machinery, we give it rest. That okay, so that if the parts are getting worn out, they should get rest. So same way, our body, whatever is cells are getting worn out, they also get repaired, and the level of these cells increases during sleep. Our entire body system keeps working during sleep, and it recovers itself from all the insults it has taken during the day. So whatever infectious agents may have got inside during the daytime, not only it will be taken care of at that time, but also during night our body is working ceaselessly to get our system rid of all these things. And sleep deprivation, I think we all have faced it. Whenever anybody is having sleep deprivation, not only do we feel tired, all the systems also get slowed down, all the body systems. So our circulatory system, our immune system, all these things, they also get slowed down. And so the cytokines, there are certain things like cytokines which fight infection, their level also kind of decreases or gets affected if our sleep is reduced. So that is one very practical thing which we have to look into, especially during this exam season, that the children should get adequate rest and sleep for the body to recover from the excessive whatever stress that the child is having. And the recommended sleep time for children is at least 9 to 12 hours. 9 to 12 hours. I think we have to really put a thought into that. is the child getting that much sleep? Some children may need more also, but that is the minimum which they need for their body to function properly. And sleep, any kind of sleep deprivation or any kind, is an added stress on the body, and it increases our susceptibility to various infections or various illnesses. So adequate rest is, I mean, extremely important. And these days, what is happening, so once the child has finished, load of studies on children is also, I would say, quite a bit. So the child will finish with his homework or his studies, then some children will have some classes or tuitions, and by the time they are done with all this, I mean, we have to ensure that along with the studies, the child has to have some entertainment also. It should not be only studies and only the classes, and that puts a lot of pressure on the child's mind. So the child needs some kind of a break or a relaxation from the studies, and that relaxation, some children may like to play, they like to, I mean, we cannot help it, they just want to watch, say, TV, or they want to watch a screen, or they want to play some games on the video. It's okay, we can let them do that, okay, but then we should kind of try and keep it at a reasonable level. So the screen time for children, we should try and kind of have it not more than, say, half to 1 hour. Otherwise it really affects their sleeping pattern also, because the brain gets activated due to all the screens, and then the child is not able to sleep, and if he is not able to sleep, it's a vicious cycle. He is not able to get up the next morning, and neither the body is able to get the rest. So we should kind of make sure that all the devices are switched off at least, say, 1.5 to 2 hours before the child's sleeping time. And the child should have a proper, like, we have a timetable for all the activities. These days it is a very good idea to have a timetable for the child, that okay, this is the time he gets up, this is the time he goes to school, then he comes back, then he has his whatever meals, then he gets down to studies or whatever homework. So the same way, I think we should have a timetable or a set time or a set routine for bedtime also, for when the child goes to bed. That time should also be fixed by and large. Okay, we can have a little bit leeway, but by and large it is a good idea to fix that time, just like we fix all the other activities and we allot a time for them. So it is also a very good idea to allot a time, so that the child also starts to, he gets into that mode. Okay, I have to go to bed by this time. So he's, everybody gets into that mode. Otherwise it can really impact the well-being and the health of the child. So not only the activities schedule is important, but the sleep time is also extremely important. Otherwise it can really hamper the health of the child. This is what we are facing a lot these days. And of course a lot has to do with sometimes the parents are also working late at night, so it becomes a little complicated. Then how do we get the child to sleep? So parents also have to take care of that if we are working, or if we are watching devices till late at night, then it is going to be difficult to kind of tell the child to stick to his schedule, or to this is the devices off time. So we also have to kind of juggle our schedule also, so that we can also kind of get rest. Otherwise it is difficult, not only for children but for adults also. We are seeing that adults are also coming with, and it leads, inadequate sleep is also another reason for stress and anxiety, because the child is not able to get up, and then is since it is the exam season, so I would just like to say that if the child is not getting adequate sleep, his memory also gets affected, because his recall and memory get affected. And then we are wondering that what happened, he studied well, but then what happened during the test. So because the child is not able to recollect, If the brain is not rested, the brain cannot function well. So the memory and the recall power also get affected. So not only it is important for immunity, but for the general well-being and for the academic performance as well as for the general health of the child also, sleep is extremely important. Otherwise, it becomes kind of little difficult, to sort of make the schedule for the child. Okay, so that was about the sleep, the activities, and I think we have already talked about probiotics, and yogurt is basically curds. Okay, so another thing we have to be careful about is we have talked about the balanced diet, the physical activity, and the consistent sleep routine. These are the practical things, which we can look after to look after the health of our child. Another very important thing is, of course, we cannot totally deny it. It is there that children like sugary and processed foods. Okay, so like instant foods, like say chocolates or say wafers or cookies. All children like such foods. So it's not that we should totally ban such foods. We should give them, but we can try to limit them, because they also, what they do is they also kind of affect the immune system of our body. Excessive sugar, because they contain lots of preservatives and chemicals and artificial colors and additives which affect the immune system of our body. They directly go and kind of attack the immune cells of our body, which are important for the fighting various infections. They directly go and affect that cells. It has been now seen, not only the sugary and processed foods, but even the Wi-Fi, the rays from the phone and the Wi-Fi, it has been proven beyond doubt that they affect our immune systems. So we have to be very careful. These are just a few practical tips. Whenever the child is sleeping, we should be very careful that there should be no Wi-Fi devices in the child's room. No such devices should be in the child's room. They should be away from the child's room, because if the Wi-Fi is on, it directly affects the immune system and the brain growth of the child. It has been proven now in various experiments. And even there are certain cells it reduces. Very interesting, just a little, I will take half a minute, Surbi, to complete this. An experiment was done in which a phone was kept, and on a slide, a blood sample was taken on a slide, and it was viewed under the microscope, and a phone was kept near that blood slide, and it was seen that all the immune fighting cells, they got activated on the slide. Cells which are responsible for the immunity, they are known as the white blood cells. They all got activated because the phone was kept near. So they considered, the immune system considers the rays from the phone as a threat. So all the cells got activated. I hope, yes. So that is how we should always be careful, that we should, whenever child is sleeping, or for that matter even when we are sleeping, we should keep our phones away from us. Like keep it in a separate table, because sometimes we just forget while the phone is lying near our head or near a pillow or somewhere. It should be mandatory that the phone or the Wi-Fi should be away from our bodies, definitely, when we are sleeping. So that is one little point I just wanted to emphasize, that phones and Wi-Fi should be kept away. And these are the other practical things that we should take care of: the diet and the physical activity and the sleep routine for the child. Its immunity is not just one package. This we have understood not just now, not just during the COVID time, but even before COVID, we understood that immunity is not like a packaged thing. It's a holistic thing which includes many factors, like not only good nutrition or consistent physical activity and exercise, and good sleep, and stress-free environment. Now that is something which we have, because we are seeing that even stress and anxiety is present not only in adults but in children also. So it's very important to tackle that, because that also, stress also definitely affects the immunity. So that is one part which we should really give a deep thought to. And also, we should try and understand that immunity is not a one time thing, it's an ongoing thing. So the the whatever immunity, childhood immunity also develops many long term benefits for the adults. And also there is we should try and understand, not only, I mean, we just treat sickness in the child, but I think we have to now shift the focus on how to keep the child well, not only just treating their sickness, but the overall wellness and the well-being and the holistic development of the child. That emphasis has to be there. How so? To we should try and boost the health and immunity of the child, rather than not just only tackling it when the child is sick. So on that note, Surabhi, uh, I would like to just conclude that the role of the pediatrician is important, but I think the parents are much more important as far as the overall well-being and the health of the child is concerned. They are the the gatekeepers of the child's health, well-being, and immunity, so to say. I would just like to conclude, and if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, so we can open the forum for questions, and then two more takeaways we wanted to give. And that is basically creating a healthy study environment and also stress management. But I guess after a few questions, we can take that part. And additionally, I have invited two children, three children, and they would be joining from Dubai. And I wanted them to talk about it because it's very important. So when we talk about immunity, Dr. Charu, as you rightly said, is stress. So mental immunity is also very important. How to
Absolutely.
safeguard our children from all the things that are available in the environment and the information nowadays. How to make our children emotionally immune as well. Someone says something and child is upset, 2 days, 3 days go. In exam time, suppose 2, 3 days go just because my child is sad, some friend has said something to the child. That affects the child, right? So we will take that part also. But before that, we would like to open it for questions. And if you have any question related to physical immunity, you can post it in the chat box and we will take it. Amruta ji is asking, what are the symptoms of child in stress? So how can she know that her child is in stress?
Okay, we have to build the immunity of our children to tackle stress also. That is also, stress is an inevitable part of our lives, and many times it becomes difficult for us to realize that children are also under a lot of stress these days. Not only because of their academics, there are so many things: peer pressure, parental pressure, and so many demands from all aspects. Their school pressure, I would say. Teachers are pressurizing them to take part, not to excel, not only in academics but also in sports. Okay, they should excel in everything, in co-curricular activities, sports, academics. Then we as parents also, we also want them to do well. I mean, it's the pressure of expectations, I would say, rather, on children. So it's not so easy, I would say, to be a child in today's times. It is quite and peer pressure. Let's not forget that. Not only parental and academic pressure, but also peer pressure that we had discussed, I think, in one of our previous talks. So peer pressure, like pressure on this child has this item, and that our child will never say that okay, he has that. Some smaller children may persist, he has that toy, I want this. But sometimes a child, especially a grown up child who is a little bit more mature, he will not actually verbalize it, but he may feel deficient in that. So the peer pressure is also a very real and I would say very tangible thing for children these days. And bullying is also very common. Not only, last time we have talked cyber bullying or online bullying, and of course physical bullying. So children are prone to lots of stress. And how do we recognize that stress in the child? That is very important. So the most important thing is to recognize we should keep an open line of communication with the child. That is very important. We should not, we should be very open to whatever the child is discussing. And we should always, as I said, that there's a time demand is so much for the parents as well as for the children, but we should have some time every day, whatever time we can allot, say 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, just to be with the child, whether it is during meal times or any other times that the parents can decide. So the child is, we can just ask the child, okay, how has been your day, how was your day, not only once a week, okay, at weekend we will discuss how was your week. It's always better to keep it on a daily basis. You have an open line of communication and conversation with the child, so the child learns how to share his day to day, whatever the good things or even some not so good things which are happening, so he feels comfortable to talk to the parents. That is the most important thing. And we have to be kind of non-judgmental. If he tells us something, oh, how did you do? No, we have to be non-judgmental. So why do sometimes children confide in, say, outsiders? We feel very bad. Okay, he confided in that one. I get the same thing. Madam, he's confiding in you, but he never told me this in my clinic. Okay, I asked them, bete, what happened? So they'll confide. So because we have to be non-judgmental and have to keep an open line of communication. Only then the child will share his any issues or any things which he is facing with us. And how to recognize, of course, if he shares with us, that is well and good, but sometimes the child may feel embarrassed or little not very willing to share certain things. So even then we can make out that the child who used to be very lively or very active, suddenly he's not so active or not so talkative, and he's not going out with his friends to play, or he's more kind of withdrawn. That behavior, the child is becoming more withdrawn, he's not going out, he's not interacting with his friends, or he's become unusually quiet. Any change from the behavior, or even we can say that the child who was doing very well in school, suddenly we see that some it may drop for other reasons, but suddenly we see that that same child who was doing so well, suddenly the academic performance is kind of not so good as it was before. So that is not a time to kind of put more pressure on the child. Rather we should try and ask or make him comfortable to talk to us. If anything is the matter with him, we should try and get the child to share with us. So these are the behavioral patterns, but sometimes it may come on even in certain physical symptoms. So many times we get such issues with children that the mother will say, when he gets up in the morning, he says, I'm having so much pain in the stomach, mommy, I cannot go to school. This is one of the commonest things. That only in the morning when he gets up, he starts having stomach pain. And when the mother says, okay, you don't want to go, you take rest today, then after that, after few hours or something, he is okay. And the rest of the day is okay. So it is not that the child is making an excuse. It's actually because of some stress he is having that pain. And maybe that stress factor is, we don't know, we have to try and find out. Maybe there is something in the school which he wants to avoid. It may be due to anything. Or maybe he just doesn't, as we said, he just has not had enough sleep and he's not able to get up. So he doesn't want to go. But most of the times we have to try and find out, is there anything really problematic in the child's school? That why is he avoiding the school? And that anxiety can come in such a form, not only pain in the stomach, sometimes they may come with headache. I'm having headache for no reason. everything is normal. The child, we have tested the child's vision, that is normal, there is no other reason, but just he is having headache. So these are the common things which the child will present to us. These are the physical symptoms, and other, as we said, is the change in behavior of the child. So these are
So
some of
don't
the few
consider that.
pointers.
So many a times we think that, hey, he's just making false these things, and it's only fake, and send him to school. So what we are trying to say, that please try to understand his
Yes,
his
yes,
size,
yes,
and please
yes.
support your child.
There may be a much more deeper reason for the child's not feeling well. Sometimes there may be a simple reason. Okay, there is some stomach infection, he doesn't want to go, but it cannot be every time. So suppose that stomach infection has been treated, his headache has been treated, and he continues to have those things recurrently. On a recurrent basis, the same thing is happening many times, frequently. Then we really have to give it a thought as to what is happening, what is troubling the child.
So let us take our next two things. So what I will do, I will quickly cover those two takeaways that we shared with you, and then we will again come back to our question and answer. And then I would also like to share something about Brighter Minds, because that is a practical technique, practical help which our children get for developing that mental and emotional immunity. So is it visible, Dr. Chari?
Yes, yes,
To everyone?
yes.
So creating a healthy study environment, because this is our exam time. So what you can do, based on our experience only, I have put these 3 points which you can remember and apply. So first is like how to create a dedicated space. That's very important, because sometimes what we say when mothers are busy, they say, okay, come on the dining table, I'll teach you. Okay, somewhere else I will teach you. And then she keeps on working also when mothers are teaching, or children also think that, okay, sometimes on some table, some other time on the other tables. So how to make sure that every time our child is studying in a dedicated space, dedicated place, which is free of distractions? Because there are various researches, there are various studies which tell us that even if television is running at the background, it also hampers with child's problem solving ability. It's not that directly seeing is important, but even if child is doing something, is studying, and television is working at the background, some elderly person, grandparents or parents, they are watching TV, so it will also hamper with child's problem solving ability. So we should have that space which is free of distractions. Child should not be able to listen all these things here and there. So that is very important. Second is your the place where child is studying has to be very clean, organized, and with proper lighting, because sometimes we are not paying attention to the lighting part, and then slowly that impacts eyes of children, and then when we understand, when we observe, that becomes very late. So the second part is also very important, that you should ensure that the place is clean, well organized, so that every time child doesn't have to go here and there. Pencil needed, again child has to get up and bring that. Watch needed, just to time out how much time is taking for studying, then again child has to get up. No. So organize such a way that everything child is sitting for the studies, and everything is handy, everything child is able to access by sitting only. Every time child doesn't have to get up and get things, so that disturbs. So that is second part. And third is, which is the most important I consider, ensure that proper environment inside the child is ensured. Suppose you are child is having some hot discussion, some emotional discussions just before the study time, how will it go? Child will not be able to focus. So it is very important to ensure that when child is sitting for studies, what you need to do, you need to ensure that child is happy, with peaceful mind, peaceful heart, happy heart. Child enjoys the studies. If as parents you are taking studies, make sure that you crack some joke, make it a little lighter, in feelings, in emotions, so that when child is studying, it's not that something very something, a lot of burden has come to the child. It should not happen like that. So it should be lighter environment, lighter atmosphere, that yes, we are studying. For the day we are studying, and it is something that we are going to explore, something new, something interesting. So that way, making studies interesting is our job as parents. Because if every time with boredom we are just copying, pasting, scolding also, you have not completed this, you have not done that, could you not understand this? So no, we have to hold our emotions also as parents, and then make sure that even if exams are there, like Dr. Charu shared in the last webinar also, even if child has exam, ensure that all the activities are properly done, child is getting good playtime. So that happy heart, happy mind is very important for the child when our child is studying. So that is our third thing. And then this is three things that you can ensure. If you want, you can just take a screenshot of it. These three things, if you follow, you will find that the complete study experience for the child can be transformed. Then third takeaway that we shared with you was stress management techniques for the children. So I would like to share three techniques with you. I have written it so that you can note it down. So first technique is very practical. In quick few minutes, I will be telling you. So that is called as belly breathing. What you have to do, you have to train the child. One hand can be on the tummy like this, and the other hand can be on the heart like this. Child has to sit straight, back straight, neck straight, and then breathe in deeply. You can also give it a try now. Breathe in deeply, one hand on stomach, one hand on the heart. Just try to feel yourself. Close your eyes. Breathe in deeply so that it makes a sound like. And when you breathe out through your mouth. This is called deep belly breathing technique. Breathe in deeply so that to make a sound. In that you will find that your stomach will expand. Breathe in deeply. And when you breathe out with your mouth, with the O shape of your mouth. So this basically calms the child down. And also in one of the webinars, which is given on our YouTube also, we have shared with you that left nostril breathing technique. That also activates parasympathetic system in the child, and this is very important to give calming effect, cool down, calm down, and work with peaceful heart and mind. So you can also include left nostril breathing. Second thing I wanted to share with you is journaling. If we can make this a habit for our children, at night or at the before dinner time in the evening, if they can have this, what they need to do, whatever they have done during the day, if they just write it down, what happens with this journaling? With journaling, they start becoming aware for their own emotions, for their own feelings. And that is how it so happens that once they are aware of their emotions, they are even able to handle it in a better way. So it will you will observe that your child will be able to handle stress with that, self awareness, more self awareness towards own emotions. And also the third point that we wanted to share with you, which is practical technique. You can many of you know relaxation technique by Heartfulness. If you don't know, I can share with you the relaxation technique. You can just experience. And you can also include few introspective techniques. Like in one of the webinars, I shared with you positive affirmation technique. So these introspective techniques, if you include, it only takes 5 to 7 minutes every day. But if you include this, what will happen? It will help your child to calm down, be peaceful. So these few practical techniques we wanted to share with you. And of course, through Brighter Minds cognitive training programs, we are able to help children in practical way. I would like to invite Manaswini, Pushkar, and Krutika to please unmute themselves and put their videos on so that they can show you and also talk to you how they get benefited through Brighter Minds, because it's important to give our children some practical technique. Only talking will not help. That is why we shared with you these practical techniques. Dr. Charu also gave you many practical techniques on nutrition, sleep, exercises, few more tips she has shared with us very beautifully. So if Pushkar, Manaswini and Kritika, you are here, you can of course share. So basically with Brighter Minds cognitive training program, what we do through different activities, fun-filled exercises, relaxation techniques, centering techniques. Also one part is included which is sensory training, in which children just close their eyes and understand things. So with all those different activities and interventions, we help children develop that mental immunity, whatever may have happen outside the world, but they will be able to manage their inner environment, inner atmosphere of the heart, which is very important. So I guess, Dr. Charu, I guess Manaswini and Pushkar, they are not able to put their videos on. I have allowed everyone, but I guess it's not happening. So no worries, we can take next 2-3 minutes, we can take questions by parents, because I see few questions in the chat box and it's important that their questions are addressed. They give their precious time to us and join this. So Priyanka ji is asking, ma'am, please guide us what precautions we should take in monsoons, as there are many viral going on in Rajasthan. Recently heard about monkeypox also, viral fever also, hand, foot, mouth disease is also in among kids. So what precautions they should take?
That's very correct actually. So lots of we are hearing lots of viruses, lots of infections going around, and recently we have heard about something called monkeypox. So we just have to reiterate here that like say building the immunity is one part, but there are certain say infection prevention measures which we can take on a routine or a regular basis, and which we have actually learnt very well because of the pandemic. The COVID pandemic has taught us so many things which are basically very common sense things which we can still implement in our day-to-day lives, not only during infection season. So these are very simple things, like say whenever the child or anybody is coming from outside, hand washing. Okay, so if soap and water is not available, we can use the sanitizers, hand sanitizers. Then we should, the more important thing is, not only we should do hand washing, if suppose we are not able to wash our hands, I mean, this is the one of the most important things. We should avoid touching our face or our eyes or our mouth or anywhere, nose, with our hands. Anywhere around the face we should avoid touching with our hands. That is one of the most important precautions, because most of these things, how do these diseases spread? Either they spread by airborne route, that means somebody is coughing or sneezing, and that is how we get the infection, say cold, cough, flu, okay, or somebody's actually got that infection, like somebody has got a skin infection, and from that person is touching something, and that same thing we go and touch. It may be a hand towel, or it may be a cup or a dish or a glass. So these are the things we should avoid. One is, right now in this season, avoid going to very crowded places. Same things which we were doing earlier. Avoid going to extremely crowded places, because we don't know, somebody may be coughing or sneezing there, and then the child comes back with some kind of an infection. Or if at all we are going, sometimes it is unavoidable, then we have to follow all these precautions. That and another precaution, suppose somebody has got cold or cough, okay, then what should they do? So they should always try and wear a mask if they are going outside. If it is so important to go outside, they should always wear a mask so that they don't spread the infection to others. That is one precaution. And we should take care that if the children are sick, they should be kept at home. They should be not sent to school. Or if anybody is sick, they should not attend office. That is how the infection kind of spreads, and then from the child, one child will give it to another child, that kind of, it's very difficult. Now in school, if we tell the child to use a sanitizer or something, it's difficult. So if the child is sick, we should Wait till the child recovers, let him take rest at home, give him the treatment, and only then send. And how to prevent our child from getting infection? Same question the parents have asked me. Madam, even the child is sick, but parents are sending to school. So, I mean, I think we have to kind of understand that if the child is sick, we should obviously not only the child will get more sick if we send them to school, but also the infection will also spread to everybody else. That is one thing. And of course these are the other things: hand washing, keeping your hand away from your face at all times, and whenever we come from outside we should try and simple things: wash our hands, wash our feet, wash our faces. Okay, that is important. And of course the immunity, that is one big checkbox that we have to check all the times.
Yeah, so one of the parents, Malvika ji, has written, "Thank you so much for revisiting the basics." These are basics. And yes, and to ensure these is very important, and we parents need to be reminded. Even I'm a parent, I need to be reminded. See, vitamin C is a, I mean, because children are not very fond of fruits and nuts and all. We need to find ways and means to feed them that. Make
Exactly. One thing I just wanted to add here, Surabhi, just in half a minute, that as you said that we have to make study time fun for children. The same way that meal time and eating also has to be a fun experience for children. Only then they will eat. If we give them a few nuts or a few fruits, they will not eat. But we have to make it a fun experience for them. So, by giving them, like say, involving them in the preparation of the meal, give them simple tasks what they can do. Not like cooking, but like say washing the vegetables or laying the table, or putting some flowers on the dining table, or say they have to set the table, they can put the plates on the table. These small things if the children do, or mixing certain ingredients, children love to do that in the kitchen. They love to help out, but of course we have to ensure their safety. We should not give them a knife and ask them to chop vegetables, but okay, go and wash that vegetable. That much we can do. So if we involve them in the preparation of the meal, and then make the meal time, it should not be a serious time that okay, lots of stress about it. Oh, you have to eat this. I mean, we should avoid doing that. We should make it attractive looking. Whatever we are giving to them, it should be attractive and colorful. So only then the child is going to eat, because no child is going to eat one dull looking amla kept in the plate. So we could think of some interesting ways to cook that amla, make a jam, or make something like that, with that, and then the child will be interesting in eating it. Otherwise, if we give that amla, he'll say, please keep it away from my plate, take it away. And then, as you said, story time or little jokes or little light-hearted environment during the meal times. Crack a joke, keep the thing light. We should not be stressed up about, okay, if he has not eaten today, he might eat it tomorrow. But let's not, get stressed and make the child stressed also about the, meal times. We should keep the atmosphere light.
So, Dr. Charu, our time is up. It's 8:38, so we should finish it. So those who want to exit, they can exit, because I see one important question in the chat box. Dr. Charu, would you like to take it for just 2 minutes?
Yes.
So if you want to exit, you can exit, because this question by Dr. Pulkesh Sharma, I would request Dr. Charu to take for next 2 minutes before we wrap up. So he is asking, do you have any tips on preventing mosquito bites other than mosquito repellents, as many get allergy from smell of such repellents? So before you answer, Dr. Charu, I will just take half second, because I have started doing this with my child. There are a couple of stickers coming nowadays. So what I am doing, I am just putting those stickers, and it is helping a lot, because that smell also doesn't come to the child, and child is safe, because those repellents are in the form of stickers. So
yes, there are so many things available in the market these days. There are herbal mosquito anti-mosquito creams which we can apply, which are very safe, which do not cause any allergies. There are patches or stickers which are available. Okay, what is the most, I would say, again, let's get down to the what is the most important thing. Now we cannot keep the child confined to the house. If he is going outside, there will be mosquitoes. If he is going out to play, there will be. So we can take certain precautions, like, whenever he is going out, as a routine, we should make sure that they are wearing something full sleeves, full trousers, rather than say short and t-shirt. Because sometimes or the other, a mosquito may not bite, but other insect may bite. Because in this particular season, lots of other insects or lots of other, other things are there. So that, many times we are having children with some insect bite and a swelling on the limb. So that is one very, very important thing. And make them wear shoes and socks and full trousers and full sleeves shirts. That is one precaution you can take. And the second thing is that, of course, then again, we have to go into little bit details to prevent the mosquito breeding. That is the main thing. So, this is something which we have been discussing so many times, that we should get rid of any empty pots or empty flower pots. That is where the water collects, the rainwater will collect. And we don't even know that there is some empty flower pot or some empty, can or some tin lying in the garden or in our house, in outside our house. And there the water is collecting, and there the mosquitoes will breed. That is one thing. And of course, we have to get rid of all these things. And again, if the suppose at night also, even if the child is not going out to play, even if he is inside, this is something known as a indoor mosquito discipline, which I am very conversant with, because I have been in Assam or in northeast areas where even inside the house you can do anything, but there will be so many mosquitoes. So at night or after the evening, uh, generally what was advised was to keep all the netted doors closed. So we don't try and open. The door has a net or a jali, so that should always be kept closed, the door or the window. Otherwise the mosquitoes will come in, and then it becomes difficult. And also, if by chance, if you're traveling somewhere where you cannot ensure all these things, then better to carry a small mosquito net for the child if you're traveling, or even at home or somewhere you are going somewhere where you are not sure how it will be. If you're traveling to such an area, that is one thing which you can ensure. Otherwise, the main thing is to prevent mosquito breeding itself, which is of course easier said than done. It is a tough task.
Thank you so much. And I see more questions. So what I do, I am sharing this WhatsApp group link. We have a WhatsApp group for parents. You can even post your questions there. After this webinar, if you get some questions, if you get some query, you can post it there. I am also sharing my number. You can send your question to me directly, and I will connect with you and answer your queries. You can even go for one-on-one consultation if you want to connect and understand few things about your child. You can even connect with us one-on-one, and we would make sure that your queries are addressed. So that is one thing. After our webinar is done, we also post it on the YouTube, so that you can share it with your spouse or parents or friends, different contacts. So you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, because almost every day we keep sharing something or the other which is important for parents. So you can subscribe to the channel, follow our WhatsApp group link for the parents, and also I'm sharing with you the LinkedIn profiles. So you can follow this LinkedIn, because there also, if you follow us and then you share things, maybe you will be helping us to spread the awareness about these things. Because as we have been sharing with you, that sharing good things is very important. Bad things get shared very fast, but when something useful is there, something important is there, which is positive for everyone, it needs conscious efforts, it needs conscious intentions to share. So please share these things with others. And also you can share these links, like WhatsApp group link, YouTube link, and also LinkedIn link with your contacts, so that you help them also to get more information on different issues that are related to parents. All of us need support nowadays. All of us are in nuclear families, need support and help. And very rarely we get help from experts like Dr. Charu, because all of them are busy. Simple reason, because for her also I have to keep requesting, please do it, because our parents need it. And she is generous enough to give her time, because normally we don't get experts and whom to talk to, whom to understand things. So our promise is that we will be giving you authentic replies to your queries, reliable replies to your queries. So you can join these and stay connected, because it's important to help and support each other in this moment of need. Plus, Heartfulness Institute offers many techniques which are not chargeable, which are very free. Please make use of those techniques, like heartfulness relaxation technique for children. It's very simple, 5 minutes technique. It will, like Dr. Charu shared with you, sleep is important. To ensure quality of sleep, that technique is wonderful. You can just experience it. So please join this and stay connected. Thank you, Dr. Charu, for joining us today, and
Thank you, Surbhi. Thank you all for attending.